further discoveries that I made through experience in the non-physical this realm, I saw how at the center of the earth, at its core, is pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness works its way up through the layers into the life in the oceans through consuming those things that are rooted. So your plants and things, the consciousness can be carried to the water, to the roots, then to whatever eats those roots, and to whatever eats that which ate the roots. So that's where the mermaid idea comes in. The consciousness of a human being as it works its way up through the ecosystem. Like, all kinds of words we could use for that. The food chain, as it makes its way up the food chain. That was why I was laughing. So that's the word I was looking for. But it's through the ecosystem. So, for example, there was a bird running around, and the idea for a chicken came up. And so that bird maybe went and ate a clam off the seashore, and the programming for the chicken thus entered the bird, thus entering the eggs that that bird laid, and out popped the chicken. So for everything on the outside, we have these layers on the inside. We have cellular memory from going up that food chain. Therefore, we have a reptile layer within us. We don't need to flip out about that, because there are herbivores amongst the reptiles. Is herbivorian reptiles the word? I don't know. We can make words up as we go along. It's okay. We know what we mean. As long as we allow for that creative license. And seeing as I'm creator of my experience, I allow myself that creative license. So I have a new word, if it doesn't exist already. It's the herbivorian reptile. And if we go back through the Atlantean and, the foreign invaders who genetically modified us to get the human beings that we are today, if we go through those histories, and if we're going to believe those, the earth originally did belong to a race that was reptilian until it blew up. And then the reptilians went underground, and other consciousnesses, other races took over from there. So to dread our reptile layer, and I had it illustrated in my imagination as I had the experience, because that's the imagination is how our inner self, our consciousness, communicates with us, what it wants us to know. So we think we're just imagining something out of the blue, when in fact we're being given a communication of what our subconscious, our inner consciousness wants us to know and understand. So if you could imagine like those dolls where you open one inside the other, we have layers. And so one of those layers is going to be the reptilian layer, because we came out of the ocean too. And that's okay. I was shown the understanding of the different layers. Silver layer, gold layer, the iridescent. I'm still trying to figure out where the iridescent comes into it, because in one example where I was shown my inner house, it was all crumbling, it was all falling apart, and there were iridescent angels holding it up. And another experience, I was shown the iridescent realm holding up the gold realm until it worked its way through it, and then the iridescent realm was outside of the gold realm. That kind of activity. And throughout that, the mermaid figure, in my experience, was associated with bringing information back and forth from between the earthly, outer physical manifestation that I am and the gold realm. It turned out she was one evil little thing. But we gave her a good sister to interact with and help her change her ways. That's what it is. We can change anything. We can change absolutely anything about ourselves. And if we could change it within ourselves, we can change outside of ourselves, how things are managed, how things come to be, and things like that. I'm trying to open up, see if there's any other memories or experiences that would have to do with this reptilian realm. So it wouldn't really be that in a lot of cases, they talk about reptilians running the government. It could be, somebody just embodying predominantly the reptilian layer. Not necessarily, pure reptiles underground coming and masquerading, shape-shifting, and pretending to be members of the government. It could just be, maybe there are outer entities that, trigger people's inner reptile layer and, possess them through it. That could be a thing. There's all different ways this stuff can happen. It just doesn't change the fact that we came out of the ocean, so we have a reptilian layer. We've got our little fishy layers. That's probably represented by a mermaid. And consciousness can travel up from the core of the earth through the food chain. And so when I was shown the most pure experience we can have in this physical reality on earth, I was shown how we could be, I'll stick with vegan for now, but then if, say, we want to have children, we have to bring in a new consciousness that wants to take on human form. And so maybe suddenly we're eating seafood. And that's okay. We could, when we close up our consciousness, when we don't want to take anything else in, when we're happy with who we are and how we are, and we reach that state of being where we don't need to take in outside energies to sustain ourselves, breatharianism is a thing. I got the awareness that eating is more a way of lovemaking with our surroundings, with the earth. And so we don't even have to eat. We can just smell the flowers. That stimulates the taste buds, and we can taste things if we smell them. Like when we're cooking a meal, we aren't hungry afterwards a lot of times. Like you cook a big Thanksgiving meal, everybody else is hungry. We're not hungry. We don't even feel like eating after we cook that because we've inhaled enough of the fragrance to satisfy the craving for that food that we're cooking. And that's why, people say, oh, I don't trust a cook that doesn't eat their own food. Maybe your cook's making some really good food, but they had their fill of it before it came to consuming it. So I know I've had the experience of the stomach kicking into that mode, and they've scientifically tested it. They put people who claim to be breatharians in rooms and don't allow them access to water or have cameras in there to make sure that they're not using the restroom. And, they can ultrasound, see what the body's doing now. And breatharianism's a real thing. You just have to be at a state of consciousness that's self-sustaining. They call it enlightenment. And when you do allow that breatharianism in, you don't take in outside energies anymore. And that would be one thing about creator mode. In order for somebody to be in our physical experience, we have to allow a certain amount of their energy into ourselves. And that's how all the old legends, don't eat the food in the fairy realms or you'll be stuck there. Because you're taking something in from outside that realm that ties you to it. So unless you get rid of that, you will be connected. As long as that consciousness of that thing that you took into your body is still in your body, you are connected to that realm. But if you flush the body of all other consciousnesses and you're not taking anything else in, you're self-sustaining, then you really don't have to eat. It's a thing. Those were just the understandings that I got on consuming things, eating, and the various layers, consciousnesses, and entities people are commonly afraid of. Everything outside of us is also inside of us. And that's how it happens. That's why it happens.